Well, hello everyone and welcome to the Basics of Life. My name's Ken Burkey and John Loera is here once again. I like it. He was just driving by the studio and we grabbed him and brought him in.
You let me in every now and then.
John, you're going to speak on a word that is very, very important today.
Yeah.
That everybody wants to experience. We're made to experience. It's hard to experience, but it's a weird word. It's called joy.
Right.
And so let's just have some. Joy is a weird. I need to be more joyful.
Right.
You know, joy. I have an Aunt Joy. There's Almond Joy.
There's Joy dishwashing soap. Right?
Well, is that even around anymore?
I think it is.
Is it? Yeah. There's the joystick, which is for video games. Joy. Yeah.
Well, people love playing video games. You know.
You know, Christmas, joy to the world. Joy is a weird word. So what is this emotion or this experience that, you know?
Well, I think best described what it's not is people get confused that it's happiness, right? And I think the biggest difference between those when we talk about joy is something that's not dependent on our circumstances. Happiness is much more of an external sort of thing that we actually experience, which is a good thing, happiness, but it's all dependent typically on how well things are going. Where joy is actually something that really has happiness as part of it, but it really also has things like contentment and peace, and it's something that comes from the inside out. Which makes it somewhat impervious to our circumstances in a way.
Yeah, I like the word.
Deeper.
I like contentment, and it's not just I'm feeling happy all the time, but it's something deeper. And like you said, if it's regardless of circumstances, you can have people in difficult times still experiencing joy, and you can have people going through good times not experiencing joy.
Exactly. I heard a great illustration about joy and happiness one time. They were saying that happiness is like a thermometer. It just registers the temperature, meaning our circumstances. And joy is more like the thermostat. In other words, because it's something within us, we can actually control the way we feel about things based upon this deep inner contentment and peace.
Wow.
It's very powerful. Mother Teresa actually said, very simply, joy is strength. Just it's the way that we can live life in a much different way. It's what the Bible talks about all the time, about finding this deep joy in our lives, because then we can live a life here no matter what with this peace and contentment in our hearts. It's very compelling.
It is very compelling because our culture, teaches it's all about circumstances and happiness, and it's very fragile.
Very external sorts of focus, which you can see what a slippery slope that is, because when things go south, well, there goes my happiness.
Right. And when things go well, there's worry because how long is it going to go
Hold
well?
on to it. I don't want to lose
so
it.
There's people aren't even happy when things are going well because they're dependent on that.
And it's so powerful with the Bible, because God's promise to us is He says, hey, happiness is great, it's fine, but I can give you something that's much deeper than that you can go through life and experience more of a consistency of this inner joy. And really, the only place to find it is how God gives it to us.
And we see that all the time at Green Valley. We see it all the time with the people we know, that it's almost humbling when you see someone who, life has been just as difficult, if not more difficult than for them than for anyone else, and yet there's this contentment, this joy, and it's very attractive. It's like, wow, I want that, because I don't want to wake up every day just like, all over the map.
It's interesting you say that, because really in the Christian faith, in our faith, one of the most differentiating factors, one of the indicators of a Christian, a person of faith, is joy.
Yeah, or it should be.
It should be, but that's not always the case.
Yeah.
I heard a great story from Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr., the Supreme Court judge, and one of the most...
Were you friends with him?
He
told you a story?
Yeah. Well, he writes this story, and they asked him why he became a Supreme Court judge, and his response was, he told his life story, and he said actually he wanted to be a minister, and because he grew up in faith and had a faith all his life, and he says what turned him away is all the ministers he knew seemed more like undertakers.
Yeah,
there was no joy.
Yeah.
And he says it was not compelling to me. If this is the life to lead, and that's not God's plan for our faith.
Well, that was Gandhi's quote. Gandhi's quote, hey, I like your Christ, but I don't like your Christians because they don't act anything like your Christ.
Sadly, I see, I've been there too. I've seen so many people that go, wait a minute, you have a faith, but I would have never have thought that, because there's not a lot of joy there.
Right. But there's the promise that if we get connected to God, there will be that joy. So
absolutely.
So you want to talk today about the journey.
We'll talk about the journey because we use
the journey towards my Aunt Joy's house.
To your Aunt Joy's house. Now, I don't know if you would be happy about that, but...
She lives in Oregon, so,
It is a great metaphor.
Like me.
Journeys are great metaphors, right? And we use that a lot in life.
Well, because life is a journey. It's not like we arrive.
Exactly.
Right.
So when we think about this, you think about a road trip, if you will, and you say, well, what are some of those things that we do when we're taking a trip that are important to make that successful? And I just want to use that metaphor when we talk about how we actually attain joy and grow joy in our journey of life. Mm-hmm. So I just want to run through 6 things that are, help us do that. First one is very obvious, and it's when you're taking a trip, you have to have a destination. Very simple. Yeah. And this is what we were just talking about with God. I mean, I think when we come to a journey of joy, there's really 2 choices. It's pretty black and white. We either our destination is toward God or it's away from God. Simply put. Yeah. So we put things in our lives that become our destination, whether it's worldly things, material things, and all of those. And those are not bad inherently, but happiness at best.
Yeah, at best.
God says, get close to me. Try me, because I can give you this inner joy. I can do something in you that you can't get anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, Solomon said we were all created, our hearts were created for eternity.
Yeah.
And I think it was St. Augustine that says, we got this God-shaped hole that
nothing else can fill it.
Nothing else can fill it.
That's right.
So we have all these destinations that we think, whether it's success or pleasure and all that. And like you said, not all those things are wrong, but they're not ultimately going to
they're not going to give us that sustainable joy and peace in our hearts. And sadly, even for Christians, I think we don't think about that often, where we wake up going, hey, my priority in life is to get closer to God. Because then everything unfolds out of that.
Right.
It could be serving, it could be worship, it could be prayer, it could be time with others, whatever it is, but my focus is I want to filter everything through how do I get closer to God?
Because that's your destination.
Because it's not pursuing joy, it's pursuing God who ultimately gives us joy.
Right.
Really at the end of the day.
Okay, so that's the first one.
So that's the first one, is you have to know where you're going, right? Destination. The second one is that on any journey, you don't want to travel alone. You want to take companions, have travel companions. Yeah. I mean, it's simply put. And I think that, relationships are important. We know that. But when I say relationships, I'm talking about people who are also on that same path. It's great to have all kinds of relationships in our life. Friendships. I can watch Monday Night Football with a buddy, and that's all important stuff. But I think from the spiritual side, when we go back to our destination toward God, we want people in our lives that are going to kind of also keep us on that path.
Right.
People that care about us.
Yeah.
You've given this talk in the past about MVPs, people in our life that motivate our character and value our soul, praise our journey.
Right.
We need people like that in our life as well. It's important.
Yeah, and I've shared it all the time, and you used to travel a lot, and traveling, it's not fun to travel alone. Because you don't have anyone to celebrate with or to, go through tough times with. Either way, you get delayed at an airport.
Right.
It's a lot more fun to people watch with a friend than
laugh and be joyful and have a good time, get bounce stuff off of people. I mean, this is the stuff because again with the metaphor, it's easy to get lost. And sometimes we need other people's perspectives, but people who really value your soul, value that. Hey, I want you to experience that same joy. Yeah. Sometimes we need some help getting back to that destination of getting closer to God.
Yeah, well, I was going to say there's accountability in the travel too. Hey, what things are going to distract us from the ultimate destination? So so six steps in the journey of life. First is know your destination.
Don't travel alone.
Don't travel alone. What's the third
one? Is hit the rest stops on the way.
I thought you were going to say hit the restrooms.
Well, I mean, if you have to, And I say that because, and it kind of says it kind of goes along with what I was just talking about, getting closer to God, is, we move at such a fast pace.
Yeah, we do.
And, God says sometimes slow down and just rest. Right. And it's not just physical rest, it's that spiritual rest. It's that, are you spending time in those things that help us get closer to God? Yeah. I think at Green Valley, that's what I love. That's why we have all these services during the week in different venues, because it helps us to rejuvenate, Right. You could say hit the rest stop. You could also say, refuel, because it does both, really.
Right.
We can be so busy, like I said, and yet...
Yeah, I like refuel, because rest stops scare me sometimes. You're like, oh boy, I hope,
Right.
But no, that's refueling is huge.
Although they're pretty good in the desert if you're going and the next rest stop is like 100 miles
Oh,
away.
yeah.
You definitely want to use the rest stop.
Yeah, in fact, Oregon, I'm not going to talk smack about California, but Oregon rest stops are way better.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, wow,
Oh,
there's
yeah,
like
I've been to
restaurants
some.
and everything.
Right. You might want to spend the night there.
Yeah, but that refueling of our soul, we do. We live at such a fast pace.
We want to just celebrate. Like I said, we have multiple services and venues at the church. We have a Wednesday night service.
Yeah.
We have the weekends. We have Celebrate Recovery. We have Common Ground, because those are all different ways to refuel.
Right.
In reality, it's not just it's part of it's come and worship.
Yeah.
Come in and fellowship with other people. Just really be there. There's that serving.
Right.
You talked about that some time back about how getting close to God sometimes is what is God's heart close to.
Yeah.
And we do that.
Solitude is one, and that's not isolation. Isolation is you're running from things, but solitude is just saying, hey, I'm going to kind of shut all the noise off of the world
focus in
and
on
focus
this.
in on priorities.
Yeah.
And that allows you to think about, okay, am I heading towards the right destination? And
Right.
And who are those people in my life that I need to,
Yeah.
That's good.
It's
I like
important
that.
because
Yeah.
we can just go,
And
go.
that's an obvious one. We just have to do it because life is right now 24/7, smartphones, dumb phones. My phone's pretty dumb, but
it's user error. I'm just saying. No.
Yeah, no, but I mean it's a no-brainer. But you can't feel guilty for refueling, and I think people do sometimes.
They do, because it's a performance-based.
Right.
It's you move up when you're achieving, and these things too, and this one especially is one of those that will just kill joy.
Yeah,
When you're burnt out, when you're maxed, when you're
Right.
hitting 1,000 miles an hour,
Yeah.
you
So-
lose joy.
So there's this word and this concept from ancient scriptures all the way to Jesus talked about the Sabbath. And that's all about refueling.
It is.
And the Sabbath, like anything, it can turn legalistic. Like,
Right.
well, if I got to do. It's not about I got to. It's really God's gift to say, hey, this was made because, we need to rest from time to time. And again, our culture, it's 7 days a week, on and on and on.
There's so many great scriptures. Jesus, come to me. I'll give you. I'll give you rest. Be still. Know I'm your God.
So you got to come to Him and you got to be still. And which
You
is
got to be
refueling.
still and refuel. And so.
So sorry, but we need to move.
Yeah.
Four.
So 4 is just to limit your baggage that you take. I mean, people that overpack when they go on trips. We all know those people. I have a couple family members that do
my
that.
Lord.
I have a family member who doesn't live local that will actually, when they come out to visit, I think they're moving in with us.
Yeah.
It's like, holy
my daughter. We just went to Portland, and we were there for 5 days, and literally her whole room was empty. I mean, there was suitcase after suitcase.
It's like,
I'm like,
okay,
yeah,
do you really need all this?
And yeah.
What I mean by that is, we carry our stuff with us on our journey.
Yeah.
Guilt,
Yeah.
unresolved conflict, unforgiveness,
That'll
bitterness,
sap
regret.
joy.
That'll
just drain
zap joy.
Yeah.
And so we have to really think what we're taking with us. This is such an important thing, because going back to getting closer to God, we got to know in our heart of hearts, number one, is God forgives us.
Mm-hmm.
God says, give it to me. Let go of that. Don't have to carry it.
Right.
That's the first thing, but then it's our part in that to be able to say, where do I have to go to kind of let go of some of this? What's my side of this?
Yeah.
Do I need to go to somebody and get something resolved?
Yeah.
Do I need to, work through that process of forgiving somebody? Because the person that loses in that is me.
Right.
How many people do you know that are holding unforgiveness? They're the ones that aren't joyful.
Right.
Right. And so it's really important that we have to look at this, and it's a beautiful promise. It says you don't have to carry this.
It says, cast all your cares, cast all your worries, cast everything to Him, and His burden is light, meaning that you carry this stuff, and man, there is no joy. I got just one little story here, because I just came back from New York with my wife, and if you're in New York City, you got to go to St. Patrick's Cathedral on 6th Avenue, and they're refurbishing, and it's just beautiful. And I didn't grow up in the Catholic Church, but you're in there going, whoa,
It's
this is
amazing.
There's that statue of Jesus holding the world in His hand, and that's the lightness. But then, literally, go right across the street, and there's a statue of Atlas, and he's struggling, and he's got the world on his shoulders. And I think that's how we live. We're carrying our guilt, our unforgiveness, our shame. And man, that gets tiring.
It does.
And it just turns into survival rather than experiencing the lightness, that joy, that we don't have to carry those things.
Yeah, God says, I'll take that from you.
And it's good for our suspension too, because on a road trip, you don't.
You don't want to be dragging on the ground.
No, yeah. Well, anyway, we're running out of time. So so on the destination towards joy, know where your destination is. God's destination where there's joy.
Have some travel companions.
Have some travel companions.
Refuel.
And then
limit your baggage.
Limit your baggage.
And
Number 5.
Plan for emergencies.
Plan for.
And what
we need like 2 shows on this.
I know.
My wife has a whistle in her glove compartment.
I got a flare. I don't know what I'd do with the flare, but
you'd hurt yourself.
I would.
But my wife, I go, if the car rolls over and you're in a ditch, you're gonna get the whistle anyway. That's. So, but plan for emergencies. What do you mean by that as far as emotional?
The reality is, the other great joy zapper in our life is when we go through tough times.
Yeah.
When we hit a roadblock, again, what we were talking about earlier, joy is not dependent on our circumstances. Yeah. So how is it that we plan for these emergencies? I love the Apostle Paul because he writes this book of Philippians, and he's not writing from the beach in Tahiti when he's writing all this about joy. He's in prison.
Right.
And he's saying, you can actually find joy even in your tough times if you have this perspective.
And part of that perspective is you will have tough times.
You will.
Just plan on not everything works well.
And these other steps kind of help us to do that.
Right,
it's like the question always is, how did Paul find joy in prison? He didn't. He brought it to prison.
Right.
His relationship, his journey is helping to build that.
Right.
And we also know in those tough times that, the promise that God's not done with us yet.
Right.
That we're kind of a work in process through all of life.
Right.
The promise, and you see it in changed lives, that God can take all of these different things, even the tough times in our lives, and do something with it.
Yeah, and I think, again, we on the metaphor of a journey of a car, we just start to take for granted our car is always going to work, and sometimes it breaks down.
It's not.
It just does. Jesus said there will be trouble in this world.
It's a reality.
But don't worry, I'm there. I'll take care. But he wouldn't have said that if that's not true. And we always think, what's wrong? Well, sometimes it's just life.
And we can't see the bigger picture of things.
Right.
If you've ever broken down, had a flat tire, and you're sitting on the side of the road and you look down, you can't see very far down the road.
Right.
And that's where we get into our tough times. Not that we don't grieve and that we don't struggle. God cares about those things, but God has a much bigger plan and vision of what's going on. Right. And again, you can look down in your life and go, wow, he took even those tough times.
Yeah.
If I'm open and willing to do something with them.
Yeah.
I know people, not that they would want to have gone through those tough times, that actually will say, I have more joy after I went through tough stuff.
Yeah.
Because I was open to how God could use that down the road.
Yeah. Last one.
Last one is just simply enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
You're there, enjoy the ride. I mean, part of it is, we have this hope, that this promise, and we hold on to this joy that says, God says, I have something great for you for eternity, but he says, don't miss out on the ride there.
Right.
Because there's just beauty in the life and the journey that we go, you know. And part of that is celebrating the transformation of our lives. Yeah. That God actually does something with that. Yeah. God gives us the gift of relationships and gives us the beauty of life, even in those tough times. It's like, but sometimes we miss out on that because we're so focused on tomorrow or my circumstances mired today, and we miss out on all that beauty.
Yeah, and Scott and I talked about that in this gratitude and in being in the moment.
That's what it is.
One of the biggest challenges with people who, when I invite people to come to Africa with us, is they're afraid of the plane flight, and it's intimidating. And then they get on the flight, and there's just like, I just want to be there. I just want to be there. And you know what? It's all perspective, but you do it enough times and you go, really? I get to go halfway around the world in 13 hours?
Right.
13 hours.
Right.
And so during those 13 hours, you watch some movies, you hang out, play cards with your friends, you walk around, and it's that whole perspective. Enjoy the moment. I mean, think about that. I get to go halfway around the world in 13 hours. And so it is a perspective thing.
And it's a choice in that sense, right?
Right.
But I think if you look back at all these things we just talked about, that helps us to have that perspective.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need people reminding us, hey, man, let's enjoy this
That's why
moment.
you don't want to be on that 13-hour flight alone.
No.
So because we're out of time, let's review. The journey towards joy. Go ahead. Go for it. 6.
You got to know where you're going. Choose your destination. You got to take people with you. Don't travel alone. Have those companions. The destination closer to God. Choose some companions that value your soul. Refuel.
Refuel.
Three is refuel. You know, we just need to re-energize. That's how we stay close to God. The fourth is limit your baggage. It's that, you know, what we carry, the burdens, let them go.
Yeah.
You know, work through those things. Fifth one is plan for emergencies, because we can find joy even in tough times.
Yeah.
And then lastly, which is the perspective of it all, is enjoy the ride.
And you can enjoy the ride if you do those first 5.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Great job. We're out
There
of
you go.
time. This was like a 3-hour show. No, it just, the buzzer just went off. Thanks, John. This is
Okay.
great stuff. Thanks for being with us here on the Basics of Life, and I'm sure this helped because it helped me.
I'm joyful.
Good stuff. Yeah. Yeah, and
Cool.
so I just want to shout out to my Aunt Joy. We'll see you next time on the Basics of Life.